Okay, so now we're ready for the wrap up. So if you've tried to watch this entire training from beginning to end, we're just going to recount what we've talked about before and try to send you off with some good advice and reminders. So, in summary, the student information data is updated on an ongoing basis throughout the year. That is our recommendation. To be successful in CalPads, you want to be updating the data frequently. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is looking at CalPads as an annual or semi-annual submission. This information, if for no other reason than to make sure you're staying abreast of your statewide matches, migrant ed, foster youth, direct certification, should be done on an ongoing basis. The data in Fall 1 is reflective of Census Day. The SENR file is used to determine the active enrollment count and to establish ownership of subsequent files. So this is a point that we talk about in the data population. Ownership comes from the enrollment file. You must establish ownership of your students by first submitting the enrollment, then submitting the subsequent files. The student subgroups are determined from the program, demographic, and FRPM data. So these student subgroups might be based on data that you're submitting, program and demographic, or data that is matched, data that comes from the CDSS or other sources. So the MEP, the migrant program. So you want to make sure that you are updating your student information system with your match data as well as submitting data from your student information system. Students with disability data is submitted from your special education system in 4 files: the SWIDS, the plan, the meet, and the serve. This is important because that means you need to work in coordination with your special education data system coordinator. You need to provide them access to CalPads, not just to submit those files, but to look at student records, to look at other reports. In terms of disproportionality, they may need to review enrollment reports so they can see the general education population, as well as the students with disability reports. So you want to consider those things. The certification errors and reports will not reflect data changes until a new revision is captured. So you want to mind that. We recommend when trying to troubleshoot errors to use DDs, right? CDD processing is separate from snapshot revision processing that produces reports and cert errors. So just as we previously mentioned, you want to use data discrepancies. One of the primary advantages is the data discrepancy module in CalPads will allow you to see resolved errors that are not yet part of the snapshot revision. So if you're working in CalPads and you submit data corrections and you don't want to wait a whole day to see if those corrections resolve the errors, you would be using the data discrepancy module rather than looking for those changes to be reflected on the revision. The Fall 1 certification is a two-step approval process involving the self. So remember, in December, everyone has to be LEA approved, but the final certification at the close of the amendment window in January, the SELPAs need to be able to sign off. And so the best way to ensure this is to provide the SELPA time to review the reports, annotate the data, suggest corrections so that you can make them locally, and allow them time to approve again. So essentially, at the LEA level, you should be confident in your data by the initial deadline. We really would like you to be confident a month before that in November because there's significant data. Typically, your disproportionality data, your P1 counts are going to come from that initial certification deadline. And then lastly, both approvals are required for certification by the Fall 1 deadline so that the end of the amendment window requires your coordination with your SELPA. All right. So, in terms of support, we're always here to help you. You have different measures to access support. We always suggest that you use the CalPABS web form. It's the fastest way to get support. Our ticketing system makes your question available to whoever may see it. You can always email support as well, and you can call us. The email and the phone call get put in the queue. They're a little bit slower. You do have a monitor. Every LEA has a monitor, a representative here at CSIS that is assigned to help you provide you information. You should receive an email from your monitor at some time during the submission window. If you do not know who your monitor is, you can submit a ticket asking who your monitor is. We just need to know your name and the LEA you represent, and you can talk to your monitor directly. And then there's the CalPADS LEA listserv and the CSIS FigMat listserv. Here pictured is the FigMat listserv. This is a two-way form of communication. So if you have a local system, which you all have, Aries, Power School, Q, and the problem isn't CalPADS, you want to understand how data is transferred from your system to CalPADS or someone else's local practices, you can converse with other LEAs in the field, your colleagues, and it's a very supportive community. They can provide a lot of assistance to you, or you can provide assistance to others. So with that, we say thank you for attending the training. Thank you for doing the business that needs to be done, supporting our students.